Okay. Okay. Welcome everyone. We'll not wait for Zamin. Hopefully he'll show up. The agenda is in the chat. And so this is the first week that are implementing the new evaluation process and review process. So I'm interested to get your feedback on that later in that section. Otherwise, yesterday Chris is sick, so he won't be here. And yesterday, we had mentioned that we are taking a slight pivot to be more focused on a specific industry, and Bill had talked a little bit about multifamily housing development as a potential industry, and so we're doing a bunch of work on that. And I know Bagman talked about some of the customer research he's planning to do, and I believe he circulated a document. If he hasn't, he probably will soon to get your feedback on questions that we can start asking the focus group. That'll be in a few weeks. Um, so I'll let Bill, if you want to speak more about that, you can before we get into the proposal section.
Sure. Yeah, I can speak to it. For those that are unfamiliar, multifamily housing is a term used in the real estate industry that just refers to shared wall living. So think apartment buildings, high rises, low rises, over 50 units type of structure, typically. It could be an apartment building, it could be a townhouse development, but it's shared walls, and they have a very different perspective on what they should build and where, compared to industrial real estate, commercial real estate, retail real estate, or residential real estate, single family home real estate. So they are a pretty massive market around the world. The United States has a lot of them. Every major city has at least a half dozen parties that would consider themselves multifamily developers. Um, there's a pretty tried and true process, and there's a lot of information that they need to digest to make decisions on what they build and where. So those information sets are a lot of tax programs or tax rates, demographics, of the individuals that live in that area or that have been migrating to that area. Is there proper? Is there is there growth? Is there decline? Um, Interest rates can affect their decisions in a good and a bad way if they go up. So, interest rates go up, it becomes more expensive for them to build, but it also a lot of times will choke out the ability for a lot of people to buy their own residence. So they look for multifamily housing. So the developer side of it is a subset of the real estate industry, and I'm pretty familiar with it. I've dealt with it quite a bit in my career, and I just thought it was an area that is underserved by the tech industry, and there's a lot of different angles as to how they could use technology to improve their processes. So think of dashboards to understand tax programs or commodity pricing that they really care about, steel, lumber, copper, etc. Should they be buying hedges? Should they be buying futures? Do they just need to know how to price out a project that day? Um, there's also understanding, site acquisition. So there's opportunities to build out tooling to better, refine their site plan acquisition strategy. How are they getting demographic information? All that information is available through governmental entities. It's just pulling it into one spot for them for their specific industry use. So I've talked to a handful of multifamily developers to work on a focus group with us, and they've been pretty excited about it. They see that there's a lot of things that they'd like to change as to how they use information, and there's also things that they'd like to add that really are not available right now. So there are existing platforms that do sell to them, but that not really designed for them. So, for example, there's good information on what's called LoopNet for commercial real estate, and there's good information on a site like Zillow for residential, but there's really not something tailored for that for multifamily developers, so to speak. How do you get rental rates? How do you aggregate that information to rate set for yourself? So all those things are, really just try to cater to them. And so far we have a handful of people that have signed up to be in the focus group. There's no magic number, but hoping to get to like a half a dozen or seven or so of people that are different geographies, different size and scope that they typically develop. So the first one, they have a handful of sites that they've developed, a couple hundred units. The second one is a smaller shop, younger individual, more tech savvy, understands blockchain actually. And so we're trying to round that out. Probably we'll get a property manager on the focus group as well, just to get their perspective. That whole industry, that's a set of vendors to the industry. So when you complete a site, so let's say you build an apartment building of 250 units as the developer, you may package that and sell it off to the capital markets. Somebody buys it as an investment property, and then that investment group will then hire a property manager. But also, a lot of multifamily developers, when they just get a certificate of occupancy, they'll hand it over to a property manager to manage their property. So there's big organizations, Jones Lang LaSalle, CB Richard Ellis, um, a number of them that handle property management. So they manage the properties after people are allowed to move in. And so that's a whole different set of information that they care about, demographics, because they're responsible for leasing it out and attracting people to move in there. So anyhow, it's just it's early in our analysis. Benny's been doing a great job of really trying to select, how we're going to focus on it. Bagman's been doing a lot of research to just better understand it. And the one thing that I just want to make clear is it's not a fait accompli that this is going to be the industry focus for Voy. It's just one that I thought made a lot of sense because there's a lot of different angles to it. There's a lot of commerce that wraps around them. A typical apartment site in my area for right now, it would cost you somewhere between 50 and 75 million to just put together a new one, and there's new ones going up every year. So they're big projects. They have a lot. They connect to the capital markets. They connect to governmental entities. So there's a lot of different ways to find a lot of commerce that as people are building out subscription services or however they want to build out their business model on top of Voy. There's actually people that would buy the services and pay fair market rates for it. So but if there's other industries that people think make a lot more sense, then we can go through a process of, really kind of competing parallel processes to see what makes the most sense. So it's just a general overview. I see someone has a hand up. I don't know who it is. Kieran?
Yeah, it's me. Will this be part of like the sort of co-chain um, idea? I think Benny, if you go back to that in vision document that you had,
I
talked about.
mean, this it certainly can be. I think what will end up happening is, we want to pick a market and saturate it. There will be other markets out there which could be on their own co-chain or completely different markets as their own co-chain, and they would all kind of connect back to Voy as the hub, if you will. So very much that multi-chain ecosystem is still on the cards, and it's our belief that every chain will have its own specific market and sort of industry that it focuses on. This
So
will just
like
boys.
for just to give an example, and this isn't necessarily what somebody will want to build first, but uh, the one of the developers I spoke with, I did about an hour and a half call with him to go over kind of what information they use, what are their pain points, and one thing that came like kind of vividly, and this would be kind of easy to sell to property managers that control a lot of properties. Most high-rise developments, most multifamily units in the United States still use a key fob to get you into the building, get you into the pool, get you into the gym, access into the garage, etc. And they very much want to modernize that completely, have an application on a smartphone that can use near field technology or QRs or whatever. And obviously the access is what the fob's used for now, but then also add, significantly more features that, tap for emergency services, tap for property management, every single transaction that occurs, every single tap, aggregate that data. How often does the 25 to 32-year-old male use the gym? Help them really better understand their property utilization. And so there's a huge interest in doing that. And one of the beauties of Voy, as I think everybody would agree, is that very low transaction fees, very fast. And so we could very easily be the backbone of something like that, where you've got thousands and thousands of people around the world tapping all the time to get into their apartment building or their garage or whatever and memorialize them on chain. So things like that are, what we've discussed so far. But the focus groups, I would encourage, you know, council members to attend. As I think in a couple of weeks we'll have our first meeting, and it's really to just fact gather from different industry players to say, this is how we would envision it. I plan to put together a grant proposal just to get the focus group members some voy for their time. And they've all just been like, that'd be really cool. I don't have any crypto, like that'd be awesome. You're gonna have to show me how to get on the chain and better understand it. But there's a real curiosity there to learn more about kind of the behind the scenes. But they all greatly understood that this is really just software development for them. And it's kind of where the information is placed is not our sales pitch, so to speak. It's really just we know what we can do with our network, and we just have people start building on it now with a much more clear vision as to we're building for this industry, and this industry knows that we build for them, so to speak.
Would this benefit from like being more? So if you say, for instance, a hackathon, would it not be do a hackathon focused on sort of the property industry?
I
Because this
think
still sounds like applications are sitting on top of
absolutely.
the network.
Absolutely. And I think we get there sooner rather than later when we have some information from the focus group, and we as a community decide what's the best first step. What tooling is necessary based on the information we get from the focus group. That's just how I envision it, but I know others, you know, have probably more detailed thoughts than that on it.
No, I'd agree. I think definitely down the line, once the thing is, we just need to get validation on what is a product. Well, validation on problem, solution, and the product. And only then, once we do a validation on a product that they actually want to have built and paid for, that can certainly be put on a bounty board and built in a hackathon. I think the upcoming virtual hackathon will probably focus more on some of the infrastructure that's still needed in the ecosystem, but absolutely, we can have very focused hackathons around serving this market.
Oh my God, like deeds of property and things like that can sit on the blockchain. Like I think we've discussed many in the past, and
Yeah,
even like remittances and things like that through the smart contracts.
I
There's
mean,
a lot of directions.
if we could provide them with a single place to go to just see, like, I put in a zip code in the United States, and it tells me what state, federal, and local tax programs exist for development. There's all these different ways of providing incentives to build in places, but it takes a lot of kind of elbow grease to find them. So I don't know how to mechanize that, but like those are the things that they're like, we spend a ton of time, we pay a lot of people to go figure out some of these things. And then there's other things that they know are on, you know, easy to go pull from, but they just have to go to like 4 or 5 different websites to get the information. They're all just drawing from different repositories because their industry is just not catered to specifically.
That and the fact that any type of regulatory environmental regulation that might come along could change developers' plans in the middle of them building something, and they need to know that information quickly.
100%. Yep. Wilder, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just I like the market that we're having a focus group in. I think it's a lot of opportunity there, lots of different ways it can go. And I know this upcoming hackathon is very focused on DAO tooling because there's a lot of governance things we want to do on chain for our community to improve transparency and give everybody a voice. But there's also a nice governance opportunity in a lot of residential developments. Anyone with like a homeowners association or like a condo committee, whatever the case may be, it's a huge pain point. It is really bad in transparency, and I could see that being another cool application that could be on a real estate layer for Voy, where you don't have to mail in, you don't have to be at a loss for many years on what's going on with your planning, everybody could see what's going on in their association or their committee, council, whatever it is. I think there's a lot of opportunity, obviously, in real estate being such a large market. So I'm excited to be part of that focus group and see what they come to.
I guess the other thing I should say is that if anyone, on the council, or I know this is a public meeting, if anybody in the community has experience or is connected with somebody that is a multifamily real estate developer or property manager, somebody that has a real focus on this sub industry, by all means, connect with us. And if you have somebody you think would be great for the focus group, this is not a closed process. We're trying to find 5 to 7 people that we think would be very helpful and user friendly to volunteer their time.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Bill. So if anyone
problem.
does, anyone does think of anyone in their networks, feel free. I think that the more perspectives we get, the better. Okay, so moving on to the proposal section, which is pretty extensive. So we have two proposals from the Relay Network Committee that have come in. And I'm sure most of you have already read them because they've been in the system for a while. But the first is the MainNet Relay Rewards, and the second is the MainNet Moderators Compensation, and they've now put like a flat rate so that they don't have to be submitting a proposal every single month. So is there anyone here who can take on these two? Should be really quite easy, honestly. I can also just assign them. I think that two people took on proposals last week, right? New ones. Who was it? It was Wilder and then someone else. Kieran, was it you? Shelly. Okay. So if someone else,
I can take the moderators one.
I'm happy to take one.
okay. Moderators goes to Bagman. And then Zarmin, if you can do the MainNet Relay Rewards. Okay, so I'm not just again to reiterate this document, please do read through it because the only way that this process works effectively is if you communicate appropriately with the applicant team. So if you can go through this, and if anything is unclear at all, please just put a comment and I'll clarify it. Okay, so that is done. And then okay. So just as a reminder, please it's still the committee, but just introduce yourself. Fury is responsible for these proposals. Just let him know, both of you, that you'll be taking on those two proposals. And if you have any questions or concerns, that you're going to just meet with him directly so that he's aware. He's probably not aware of this new proposal process. So like you did with the previous week's teams. Okay, so linked here is also all of the council evaluations for November. So this is important for everyone now because since only one person is filling out the evaluations, it's necessary that everyone else reads the evaluation that the one council member has written so that you're in a position to vote. So just save that. I would pin that if you're able to. And every time someone submits a new evaluation, and you'll be aware of that in email, and each week you'll see it on the agenda, you'll be able to go in and review them before you post a final vote. Okay, so these are three proposals that are from from last month that are not following this new process, which means that everyone does need to submit these evaluations. And once we close out October, we'll move forward with this more like streamlined and efficient process. But if you have not yet submitted the evaluations for Nova Domains, AVM Explorer, and Funding Transparency, please fill that out today. And these two proposals are from last week, and I think you should already be aware, Wilder and Bagman, that you need to communicate your evaluation results to the team. And like we discussed last week, we recommend if you're able, if it's like a pretty comprehensive proposal, like meet with the team so that they can ask questions. You can provide more details than just like submitting an evaluation form. So you can use your best judgment on that. And then we have a number of proposals that are out for final vote. So Scotty will either, if he hasn't already, you'll see these three or this one actually, the petty cash for the town hall event next Tuesday. But these three still need, and I already pointed this out yesterday, they need some additional information. I think the market making one, I think that Wilder was going to address this one. And then the two above, okay, yeah, the two above are lacking in voy amounts, but I don't think that these are ones that are assigned to an individual, so I'll reach out to those two teams and clarify. Proposals that passed are these three, so that's great. Thanks for moving those through. And yeah, that's it for the proposals. Does anyone have any questions on what they need to do? Yeah, there's a bunch of people. Okay, go ahead.
So I've had some conversations with web dev through the public chat on AVM Explorer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a large ask. It's a long-term project. The back and forth has been, it was an original ask of 16.5 million tokens. I helped him break it into milestones for 6 years of uptime and an initial payment for open sourcing the project, and then like every year plus updates is another 2 million over 6 years. He countered back or put the idea forward of having a contract where he's able to earn block rewards on the entire amount, with unlocks built into it that he would be willing to develop if it had approval. But I think I'm, last I checked, the only one who's been engaged in the Discord comments with him. So before you do your evaluation, I would just, what I've just said is there in the chat. Read it over. Um, it'd be a new thing for us if we did this sort of lock up and people getting block rewards on full proposal amounts. But based on how WebDev's communicated, it seems like he would be building those as part of his proposal. So it could be a tool we could use in the future if you guys are on board with it. 16.5 million tokens would meaningfully increase block rewards in these next couple months, obviously diminishing over time, but another important consideration. But I do see a block explorer that's Boy native, recognized as smart assets, isn't just another DApp flow block explorer is valuable, but it also is one of those things where I think will be, Boy would have to have a lot of adoption before a block explorer would be something that is profitable. So it's also probably in that bucket of this is something that we'll need to support in the long term. So just wanted to get everyone up to speed, and I think it's a cool proposal, but it's our first like really big build grant.
Shelley.
So, like from my understanding, this was put forward as a retrospective grant, right?
It
Yeah.
started that it started that way, but I made some arguments that it should be like over a 6 year from launch proposal based on the token amount and the commitments he made in the discussion. So I put milestones forward for him. He asked me to. He seemed to agree to them, but then he brought up the locking the whole amount and being able to earn block rewards on the full amount It's all in the Discord. It's on the public Discord forum channel for his post. But um, I didn't like I put my thoughts behind it out there. But I just wanted I don't know if he put everything he put in Discord into his proposal because he
Okay.
was kind of feeling it out. So just take a look there, and he was quite responsive within 24 hours.
Just for oh sorry, Wilder, just for clarity, what was this idea about like creating like a contract to stake and lock up the amounts like with vesting?
Yeah, he was thinking something like a multi-sig where someone on the core team or the council, but in this example, let's use the core team. The core team and web dev would be on a multi-sig on the full 16.5 million. When he reaches milestones for payouts, transactions are approved that allow him to withdraw from the contract, but he has the ability to take the contract online. So he's able to earn block rewards um, on the full amount for the whole time it's there. That's more or less his idea.
Is that
So
something that was included in the proposal?
I don't believe it is. I think that's just in the Discord discussion. Because when he brought that idea up, I mentioned this is not something we were trying to make more work for the core team or the council. So this would be something that you would need to develop. And he said he was capable of it, but he didn't want to start developing it unless it had council approval. That kind of concept of earning block rewards on your 6-year grant.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, cool. Yeah, I think so. So that's fine. Like all of us should just go in there and review and eval. It seems like there's still like a lot of adjustments being made. So it might be the case to like kick it to the next the next cycle. Because it started off as something else, right? And then we changed it. So let's see. Okay, thank you, Wilder. I have a question for Shanti, just for clarification. These three evaluations in the Nova AVM Explorer and the funding transparency, are they a part of the
Yeah.
old
So I don't know who has filled them out. I have to go in the back end and check, but
I
it's
I thought
yeah.
Nova was by me only. It was part of
Yeah,
the new
This one is
process.
yours. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be doing AVM Explorer, and I've had some contact with WebDev about it, and had a kind of a similar discussion. But I didn't see your post, Wilder, so that's really useful. I think we're on like a similar thought process with that, because like it was a retroactive grant, and he came up with the 16.5 million, because that is what it would have been worth if proposed during testnet. Or it would have been close to, because that was what the what am I trying to say? The
The conversion was at that time.
yeah, but like there was a an ask for a block explorer, and that was what we're looking for. It was like 150 million testnet tokens. So as a retroactive grant, it makes sense, but it would be under locking investing, and that would include, so that 16.5 would include a 5-year locking period. So what you ultimately ended up coming up with is similar to that.
I have an opinion on the block rule. I haven't read your comments, Wilder, so you might be I might be just reiterating what you've said anyway, but I think it would be bad generally, just for two reasons. One, because it's a significant amount of stake, which would reduce block rewards for people with smaller stake. And number two, just because I could get a proposal through and just start living off the block rewards with no requirement to ever actually fulfill the milestones or the proposal itself and still be able to claim those block rewards. That's just my opinion. Yeah, Shelley.
Oh, like yeah, my opinion regarding the Explorer grant proposals is that like if we do any like funding for explorers, we should like put them under the same umbrella, you know, like if we like, for example, if we fund this the AVM Explorer, we have like 5 explorers right now. Do we want to spend 60 million, 70 million on explorers right now? And that should be the question we should be asking ourselves when looking not at just this not at the AVM Explorer, but we should consider like all of the explorers that are available right now, right? And actually being used. And I think the ones that are being used right now are the block explorer, which is like which is being basically free, right?
Yeah,
And
there's one that Block Authority is hosting. I agree with you, Shelley. I think what would be far more better value is rewarding people for submitting PRs to that project specifically. You know, if we want to get better smart asset support for the Block Explorer that is kind of the one used by the exchanges, then I think that'd be a better way to go. But yeah.
Yes.
oh, sorry to jump in here so many times, but just for like transparency around the like implementing maybe like just for like we're not just for this let's say say if we were to go forward with the AVM Explorer and you know being able to facilitate that lockup, we wouldn't really need to develop anything extra. We can use what we already have for the staking contracts. So if you see any like if you see any if you see any proposals that that have like have some requirement or they have like they have some sort of lockup, just keep in mind that we don't have to go and build something new. We can use what we already have, right? Just don't make sure that we don't pay for things that we already have built.
I agree. I think the value of AVM Explorer is really in its support for ARC 200 and its future support for ARC 72 after talking to WebDev about, his plans, which would be something that is unique and not currently available from any of the existing explorers that we have.
Maybe like a final comment on the Block Explorers. I know D13 also previewed in testnet a Block Explorer he was planning on making. I know recently I've seen him post uh, Elgrand Explorers, but they did not have the same type of interface that he was suggesting previously. So I don't know if something like that's still on the table, but just the point raised about we have so many explorers is valid. That being said, like AVM Explorer is the only one that's made that, from what I know, the only one that allows for ARC 200. Um, and I think what WebDev does is great. So maybe this can be channeled into updating the official one, or I don't know much about DAppFlow block explorers, but I think we have like 5 DAppFlow block explorers and AVM Explorer. So I don't know how well that will mesh, but WebDev probably knows the trade-offs better than most.
Yeah, I think like maybe in the future what we might do is we might consider like for was it what do we call it um you know for projects like block explorers we might consider like market share like just like a cap on all the explorers and looking at how much use they get relative to like other explorers. And then, and like Benny said, consider like you know contributions to the projects from community members, right? Because that way you get more participation and it might be more you know you get more work done than having one person with a project, you know, trying to do everything, right?
Also, just on what Wada and Dave touched on about ARC 200 support and ARC 72. Surely, though, this would put that block explorer outside of the sort of current explorers that just have like standard transactions. So it would put it in a different tier. So surely that would add some. I think that would add more gravitas to that, and it wouldn't just be yet another block explorer, because that actually provides a lot more value to the ecosystem rather than like a Diapflow explorer clone.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think if that were the case, you would more likely, you know, have people use it for like ARC 200, ARC 72, uh, like post transaction confirmations, because it displays information that people would, you know, people would be able to understand without reading the like transaction notes, or, you know, digging into that. So I think that having that available would put the explorer in like in a position to be to be more used in the ecosystem.
Like, on the maybe like a final note for explorers, so we don't take all the time on it, but I think also in a situation where AVM Explorer passes, or there's community consensus that AVM Explorer is our best explorer, as far as traffic goes, you know, I mean, what the centralized exchanges are using, what CoinGecko uses, CoinMarketCap, whatever the case may be, um, tons of traffic obviously is generated from coming through those sites. So I think that's a consideration as well. I know the official the block explorer that Block 40 hosts is the one linked everywhere. But if we come to a consensus that AVM Explorer is our best foot forward, we should be proud of it, and probably updating links, or having a redirect. So maybe that URL becomes pointed to AVM Explorer if we decide that's our favorite explorer. But I could see it being monopolized quite quickly um, if someone delivers a great experience.
Yeah, most likely what you'll do is for like apps that use explorers is they'll have Explorer preference, so users can pick which one they want to use, and then you would have yeah, so I don't think we would do anything like that. I think we would just let the users decide, right, some way.
And I would be hesitant to point the official domains to an individual project, because we're kind of then locking them in and cementing them and playing favorites at that point. So I think it's nice to have the block authority run one. Great to have other options too. But yeah, I would be hesitant to point explorer.void.network to a community built project, just because there are other projects out there as well.
Are you thinking back to like Algorand pointing to my algo?
Well, I mean that's always as well as like, because it is a good point to bring up, is for the exchanges we are pointing to explorer.void.network, so we will always need that URL available. It is great because we can swap what that points to under the hood. But yeah, it's nice to have a stable one that we know is always going to be there, right? And yeah, that can be a bit of an issue when it comes to pointing to community build projects, just in case. Because that would be a right faff, having to work with exchanges to get these things updated, because they're not exactly the fastest entities.
Agreed. I know we have a lot of token launches coming up in the next 6 months as well. So if those are ARC 200, they're not going to, in my mind, I don't think the current Explorer is going to do any good for tracking your funding or deposits for ARC 200. So there might also be a build grant needed for the Block Authority Explorer to recognize the tokens that we want to list, if not pointing to AVM Explorer.
Okay. Okay, thank you everyone. So Shelly, Zarmian, and Kieran, those are actually your 3 individual evaluations. If you can fill them in, I marked your names. So in the last 15 minutes is just an open floor. So if we want to discuss anything beyond the proposals, if any of you have any items.
So one thing, like working through the policy change proposal, I noticed that, you know, that the policy change proposals are they're only meant for like committees or council members to be completed, right? And so one thing I'm considering working on is a policy change proposal to make it so that council members can apply for retroactive grants. And so just I haven't written it, but you know, it might be something like, it has to be like, has to be like completed over like 2 or 3 months ago. And
You mean
and
before you held a council position?
well,
Or what?
not really related to the council position. There would be like there would be some rules, like you wouldn't be able to participate in the voting. You would have to opt out of voting, and so you would have to get community, like, you know, you would get traction in the community and support, and then you would have to get support from all of the other council members, not yourself. And so I'm considering writing a proposal for that.
Okay.
For
Do we have anything?
for our restrictions, sorry, Dave, you go first.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Oh, so for the restrictions on council members, I think the reason it's in place right now is because we were picked by block authority and not directly by the community, even though we all had a lot of community support. So if the hackathon goes well, we could also have an opportunity to do an election or be bestowed with community support, or maybe that restriction can change shorter term. So may not be a huge thing, but thanks to the update, Charlie, I just wanted to add that we'll very soon have a community voting power if this hackathon does well.
Well, I'm just thinking we should be reasonable, because like it makes a lot of sense that council members do not like submit build grants, right? But for things that are already done, it's not even, well, it makes sense to allow those, but not to allow participation in any of the other grants. Well, that's what I'm thinking. So,
You mean like a retroactive grant?
oh yeah, absolutely. So this would only apply to retroactive grants that are, that are like outstanding, like, beyond like the point, not like normally you would expect someone not on the council to apply for a retroactive grant like after it's completed. But maybe for a council member, you would have an exception for like something that's retroactive, but it's like it's outstanding. So maybe like 2 or 3 months afterwards, right? So you don't have, so you have a little bit, you can apply for it immediately, but there's like a exception, right? So you some delay and then some non-participation, basically. Because if you don't have that, what if Wilder has something he completed and he's a council member for 5 years, right? So maybe it makes a lot of sense to, just get that out of the way and not have to make Wilder, apply for something he did 5 years ago.
I think you should put in a proposal and then like the details we can develop in the.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to make it public that that I was going to be doing something like that. So it's coming. And maybe get some, get some feedback.
I wanted to re-mention the council salary, and in addition to that, something for Scotty as well. I know we still haven't landed on a flat boy amount, but I'd like to get either Scotty added to what we have or his own standalone for administration. I don't know if something is already in the works by Block Authority or if Scotty has something on the go, but I sent him a DM and I just want to recognize that he's someone who's still, nothing has been made for him, but he's doing an excellent job for those who don't notice all he does. And definitely want to get something passed for him in December, like it looks like council payments will as well.
So he said that he was a long time back, he was going to work on a proposal. Um, he might be doing like a retroactive grant for the services already rendered based on his time actually spent. So I would check with him if he is planning to submit it on his own. I
Does
wouldn't.
Scotty have a title as well? Is there a title yet?
I think
is-
he had one during the test net.
He
Um,
was given a unofficial one, which probably isn't the one he wants to run with. But
Yeah, if you ask Rup, he's a maid, and I don't think he likes that one. So we can do better.
he's kind of head of operations for the council.
mhm.
Is there any is this title in the, or this kind of position in the, it's not, I don't think it's like in the constitution or anything, it's not part of the, like, is it appointed or is it elected?
I
It's
think
a good
we
point.
voted on it very early. Do we need admin support for the council?
I can't remember if it's a appointed position or.
It's consider it a position in the council, which is obviously then funded in the same, the salary for that is funded in the same way as council members. But Scotty, or at least that position, would be a more permanent fixture than the council, so there is continuity between changes.
Okay.
There's then a question of, well, how do we then decide if you want to get rid of Scotty or change Scotty, or maybe Scotty needs to leave, or all of these kinds of questions. But I would consider it a fixed position that Scotty is holding right now. I don't believe it's elected. I think it would make sense that it's appointed in some capacity because it's a natural, like, he's not representing the community. He's actually kind of like an employee of the council. So I would treat it in that way.
I was just thinking more of the, like, if Scotty just decided that he didn't want to do it, how would what would be the process to get someone new?
Yeah, it would be like a normal, finding an employee kind of process, putting a call to the community. There's this role available, much the same way that it was with moderators and ambassadors kind of thing, right? It's kind of a, apply, here's an open call, and we'll obviously have to, as probably both everyone on the council and Block Authority, go through applicants and work out who would be best situated to fulfill that role. And it was our opinion that Scotty did a great job during testnet, and continues to do a great job now.
Um, yeah, he was voted in a long time ago, and I think his role is extremely essential as we know.
I could bring up something a little fresh for Token Wars. There's been a lot of discussion. The Token Wars document was extremely detailed, and I know I missed some critical details, some of the numbers. So that's on me as well for overlooking it. But there is currently an amendment for Token Wars. I'm trying to build some, get some other opinions in there, so we're not doing 5 amendment proposals and trying to refine it a little bit more, because I don't think the DeFi community was as engaged when it did pass. So BOA's in there, Haroof's in there being active. I'm trying to draw Andrew out. I think he's been on doing a lot of travel recently, so he hasn't been as engaged. But if other council members have had a chance to look again, or any community members have had a chance to look um, at the Token Wars and see some room for improvement, please make your voice heard. Comment on the BOA proposal, and I think once the amendment is passed, and potentially before then, we can start moving into the getting the development team around it. You know, I mean, getting web dev and Shelly involved, and any other relevant players, so we don't put ourselves in a 1 month deadline. For those who aren't aware, the NFT games is already in that phase where developers are communicating. People have stepped up for all roles, and we have a date for January 3rd. So let's just come together and get Token Wars on that same footing, so we can kind of keep that momentum going into 2025.
So that sounds like we're like on track to have the Token Wars and the games like running concurrently. Is that right, Wilder?
So if for those who haven't, like, the Token Wars is in my opinion a lot more complex. It's we've never done it before, so we don't have the benefit of knowing what worked and what didn't. So in my mind, it's not going to be concurrent, it'll be sequential. So I could see there being maybe a month between. They both have similar run times, but I think it's just a heavier lift. You know, I mean, we have Bo doing the NFT games dashboard again. He's done it before. We have a lot of the groundwork already done for it. So in my mind, it'll be maybe end of Q1 with like a month in between, maybe sooner if the developers all come together. I know WebDev and yourself are quite good at getting stuff done in a short period of time, but just wanted to like put that call to action out to anybody. You mean we're all taking a hard look at the Token Wars. It's very hard to do everything right on your first shot, so I'm sure we'll have some stumbles, but there's a lot of great stuff in the proposal as it stands. So just have your voice heard. I'll say this again in the Voyager meeting, but very cool, but it's our first time doing it. So now's a great time to share your opinion before you share your opinion after you're upset of how the games is going when it's live, like we experienced with the NFT games in testnet.
Yep. Thanks, Wilder. Okay, we're actually, this is good on time. Is there any last minute points? Okay, otherwise, thank you, everyone. Thanks for staying on top of the proposals. And so next week, actually, yeah, what day is it today? We don't, next week, oh no, never mind. I was gonna say, this week is Thanksgiving. Yes, we will meet next week. There is no committee meetings on Thursday, but yeah, we'll have our meeting next week. Okay, have a good evening and day and morning, everyone.
Brilliant. Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Bye.
day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good one.